committee. That's nice to know.
Sorry.
After that, we're trying very hard to find ways to rejuvenate, just get WIs going. And Gill, a former chairman of Gloucestershire, is quite adept at this. So we've invited her to come along, give us some ideas. And if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat box. Kathy's going to be monitoring it, and there will be time at the end for questions. So Gill, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm going to share my screen in a bit, but I'm really happy to be part of this 21st century WI. I mean, who would have thought that we could have done all of this just over a year ago? So thank you for inviting me. I'm a member of Avening WI near Tetbury in Gloucestershire. I'm an NFWI craft judge and interpretation and staging judge, and I'm an NFWI trainer. I train judges as well, yeah, I've spent most of my life in education of some kind. It makes it sound like I've spent most of my life in, yeah, well, wherever. But I'm a visual sort of person, really. I just notice things. But you know, after a while, how even the most the familiar things, you stop noticing them after a while. You know, like the pile of stuff you leave at the bottom of the stairs in the hope that somebody's going to pick it up and carry it up for you, but they don't. And after a while, you just don't notice it anymore until you say to somebody, oh, just come, well, as we used to do, come round for coffee, come and have a coffee or whatever. And you know that the minute you know someone's coming, you're running around grabbing a few things, and that pile of things at the bottom of the stairs is one of the things, you know, that you move. It's not that you want to pretend you always live in this perfect household, but it's just that, you know, you want to look your best. And that's the approach that I think we perhaps I thought we would take here. That it's not that our WI meetings are, you know, we don't necessarily want them to be anything but real and genuine, but we just want to look our best. And it could be that there are some things that perhaps over the years, perhaps we've just got a bit comfortable and we just don't see them anymore, you know? And the enforced break means that we can get off to a fresh start. And when better to have a fresh look at what we do and how we do it. But, you know, new start, good time, good time. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and hope that it goes, it's the right one. We did practice it before, but yeah, you should be able to see some flowers. Is that right? Yeah, nod. Yeah, good. Okay. So, of course, well, I'm happy to answer questions at the end, but actually, I mean, if we were doing this live, I would invite you just to chip in and ask questions as we go. Kathy's going to monitor questions and sort of keep them. I'll do my best to answer them all, either as we go or at the end, depending on how we can manage the screen and everything. But anyway, in my WI life, I find myself going to WI meetings here and there, all over the place. Most of these events are in places we can't control, and I'm just trying to change my picture. Yeah, in places where we have no control. We can't redecorate, we can't change the furniture. The furniture might not be what we would choose. We can't create the perfect meeting space. We just have to work with what we have. We can't all meet in a beautiful small village hall like the one in Minsterworth, for instance, where I seem to remember there's a hearth and a sofa. Perhaps there was when I was last there. You know, it would be lovely to meet in a very nice, cozy setting. But unfortunately, sometimes, well, it's far from perfect. My first dilemma as a speaker, and therefore as a potential member maybe, or a guest, is, have I come to the right place? Well, no clues here. However, going to a meeting in Wales, in Cowbridge, I see, which I think is Glamorgan, there's no doubt about it. Here we've got a great banner tied to the railings, and what a great use of our national logo, the WI, inspiring women here today. It's a great message, and these banners are fairly inexpensive. They're very easy to hang. And if you feel that you need to add your own personality, then you can add something extra if you think it needs it or whatever. So it's clear what you're coming to the right place. But of course, there's one more feature you could add. A friendly face. A friendly face goes so far to confirming that not only have you got the right place, but that you're welcome here. And a smile and a lovely greeting would be great. The person does need to enjoy doing this, you know? They've got to be the sort of person who actually likes speaking to everybody, who is genuinely welcoming. Not somebody who has just been press ganged in because it was the least worst of the committee jobs, you know? You know what I mean? I have a friend who worked in a large department store, and the job that everybody else hated was standing at the foot of the escalators, greeting people, saying, good morning, can you find what you're looking for, and so on. Everybody else hated that. She loved it, and she was good at it too. And that's exactly the sort of warm, friendly person that is well suited to this kind of role. You don't have to stand outside, you know. I mean, it's raining here. That's pretty enthusiastic, isn't it? To stand outside and greet people. But you know, just inside the door is also perfectly fine. But the main thing is be prepared to chat, to introduce, and to welcome people. The other important thing is to follow that up later, because, you know, maybe make a fuss of a visitor, a potential new member, maybe catch up with them later in the evening, maybe introduce them to somebody, but, you know, how are you getting on? But then don't forget them the following 2, 3, 4 meetings or whatever, until they are part of the group, so that they don't really feel like they're the newest member, or you know, the person who is still a visitor and hasn't quite decided yet. Do follow through on these things. And it could be that you need more than one of these people greeting and welcoming and what have we, because it can get a bit overwhelming. It could be that 2 or 3 people arrive at once and you have to abandon somebody to then go on a bit further. But also, this person, the meter, greeter, introducer, welcomer, whatever you want to however you want to refer to her, she probably wants to speak to her friends sometime during the evening as well. She's a WI member just like the rest of us. So if there's a group of you doing this, you can take over from one another, share the responsibility. I think it's a rather nice job to do. But okay, let's go inside. I think one thing which is lovely inside a meeting, if it was not fine weather, maybe on a table outside, but certainly inside, is to have some kind of welcome table, some kind of maybe a seasonal arrangement, maybe the visitors book where you sign in, I've got a thought about that in a minute, but maybe some kind of identifier, something to say, to establish a presence. Here we are. If you make it too complicated, if you're signing in and it's near the door, the one thing you don't want to do is block the entrance, because you don't want to queue outside. So maybe just inside the door and around the corner a bit, and have somebody there to help and make sure that there isn't a backlog or anything. Just keep the flow of people coming in, and you're not checking tickets and you're not guarding the door, but you are just sort of saying, well, here we are, we're in, oh, that lovely flowers, and in you go. It sort of sets the scene. Sometimes maybe a WI will want to know who's going to have tea, who's going to have coffee, who's going to have a glass of wine, who's going to have double gin and tonic, who's, that's sometimes the place where that sort of thing is managed. It's just a fine balance, keeping things moving whilst having a little place, perhaps just to pause and think, oh yeah, I'm coming into my WI meeting, I'm leaving the washing, the children, the nasty weather outside, and here I am in a lovely place with a nice welcome. The next question, or the next thing to find in the room, is how the seats are laid out. How do you arrange the room? Do you always do it the same? Or do you switch it about a bit? Do you take into account who the speaker is? Or what you're going to be doing? Do you take into account how people behave depending on how the chairs are arranged? It could be that if you sat everybody in that banqueting style where everybody is sitting round tables, I think you could possibly imagine what people would do if they're sitting on a round table with 6, 8 people. What the first thing they would do, facing one another, is to start to chat. And that might be a great thing for the meeting. That might be exactly what you're aiming to do. However, it could be that this is going to be a serious speaker and you might need to sit in a more formal way, with or without tables. Given the current situation, I wonder how many of us might be looking to meet in that circular top left-hand corner fashion, where we're sitting around the room and really sort of breathing into the middle rather than breathing down somebody's neck or whatever. All sorts of arrangements. And this might be dependent on all sorts of factors, including accessibility. You may well have members who don't hear so well. Somebody who hears hear better on in their right ear will probably sit on the left. Somebody who doesn't see too well might always sit at the front. Somebody who is inclined to gossip and not really pay much attention at all will sit on the back row. People have all sorts of reasons for choosing to sit where they feel comfortable. And really, that's what we want, isn't it? We want them to feel comfortable after all. So there's quite a lot of things to consider. One of the things to consider is the speaker. Now, this one is actually at my WI, and it happened probably a couple of years ago now. I think, it was last month. It can't possibly be, it's got to be more than a year ago, hasn't it? And this lady arrived in just a shift. And she proceeded through, as the evening wore on, she dressed, or rather her husband, who you can just see over her left shoulder, dressed her he was pulling things out and putting another layer on, tying up her corset, and helping her get into these, multiple layers of clothes. Now, had anyone realized quite what a huge dress she was going to be wearing before the evening was out, I think we might have changed the seating arrangement, because as it was, she kept coming down to the back of the hall to show us and turning around, and people wanted to have a look and look closely, because she makes all her clothes herself. And she would come down to the end and she would turn around and do that, and then she would go back. But as you can see, it was a bit of a squeeze, and it's no good breathing in when you're wearing a dress that's 6 foot wide. It was quite tricky. Had we known, had we thought to say to her, how much space would you like? In the same way as we would say, do you need a projector? Would you like to use the microphone? Then perhaps we could have arranged the seating a little better. The other point about seating and how you lay the room out is that our village hall used to have a false ceiling, and those green arched rafters have only recently been exposed. The hall committee, whoever it was, decided to take out the false ceiling and spruce the hall up and open up the right up to the top. And that was great, and it looks fantastic. But the sound is appalling. And if we sit this way on, actually the sound just goes up into the roof and is hopeless. So actually, if the speaker doesn't want to use a microphone, we turn around and face the other way and meet in a sort of a, the speaker comes to along the long end of the hall rather than the short front of the hall, So there's all sorts of considerations about laying out the chairs. And a fresh start, when you begin to meet again, might be just the time to shake it up a bit and to give a different arrangement a try. See how it goes. See how the members feel about it. Are they comfortable? Or do you notice that they're shuffling their chairs into how they always were? Because that's that's the sure sign that actually they were more comfortable, as it always was. Some of us don't like change. We all like progress, but we don't like change. Work that one out. Another thing that happens at meetings, and that is one of those things that, well, there are no right answers, and that's sharing information. At your meeting, how do you share all the information of all the wealth of opportunities there are for members to do, to sign up for, that they might be interested in, that they might want to find out more about, and so on. There are things, so many things to do. There are always a lot of notices. I see on this one, there's a box for returned programme questionnaires, so there's something to do. We've got county events, we've got a group meeting coming up, there's a Denman programme, let's not go there. There's a little notice from the newspaper, which is presumably about somebody locally. There's some coupon books there, there's some open garden programmes. I mean, there's so much. And I don't know about you, but when I go to WI, I don't want to stand at the table reading. I want to chat with my friends. I want to go and get a cup of coffee. I want to find out who's been doing what's the latest news from this person, that person. I want to go and buy a raffle ticket. I want to go and put my flower on the Flower of the Month competition. I want to do my voting with my pennies. There's just so much. Oh, I've probably got to go to the treasurer and pay some money. I mean, there's just so much to do. The last thing I want to do is to stand and look at sheets, information. how might we share information more efficiently? Could we, well, I know some WIs put it in a book, put these things in those books where you slot the page in, and then the book gets passed around. I don't know if you've ever spoken to a WI, but there's nothing more off-putting than something going round when you're trying to keep their attention. And that includes boards to sign up for things. Sorry, little personal, little niggle there. Sometimes they're on a board, so that at least you don't, you don't have to stand and peer over a table, they're there. These little signposts, these little tent cards are quite good because at least then when you're sitting down during the meeting, you can gaze around and you can see, there's returned programme questionnaires there. I must get my questionnaire out. And oh yeah, there's some events there. You can sort of see what's on the table without having to peer at it. But, the best thing of all, I think, and we are better at communicating now, is either a new sheet with all those dates and all that information to either take home with you or have in advance. And I think more of us will have email, little round robin emails around with all that information in. So possibly this photograph has been superseded already. However, there's always the members who are not on email who would prefer to have a piece of paper with the information on so they can put it in their calendar. And for that, a printed news sheet or some form of calendar would be ideal. Anybody, when we come to questions and things, I would love to have your ideas for this kind of thing, because we aim to keep the business short, don't we? So going through all of these one by one is possibly not an option. I'd be interested to know how many WIs do have news sheets that each member has with all the details on. However, sometimes a news sheet can't really do something justice, and you want to catch somebody's eye, catch somebody's imagination. And quite often, the best way to catch the imagination is to have something visual. I said I'm a visual sort of person. So the way to catch my imagination is possibly not to write a paragraph about the fact that the book group this month is going to be about a life discarded, and it's going to be Sue's on the 14th. I would note all of that, but actually what better way to catch my eye, and I don't think I'm alone here, is the thing. I see the thing and I go, oh yeah, book. And of course, in a book cover is always something that's been designed to catch the eye. So here, all it is a cake board with the book on it and a piece of card with the details. It's so simple. And yet, just putting that on the table, hopefully that would catch your eye rather better than a little piece of paper flat on a table, the actual book. And simple as this, anybody could do it. Somebody was a little bit more, took a little bit more trouble about the craft group though. And they're going to do foundation piecing. So the person who was leading this group probably has got a few, is a bit of a crafty sort of person. And they've assembled a few things, again, on a cake board, and they've just propped up something so that you can see it from afar. It's not flat on the table. And the one thing missing, it probably isn't missing actually, but the one thing missing here is the date, the time and the location. But I think it's on that little white card that's fallen down by the cotton reels. And I think it was there, and it's just flopped forward. So one of those pins would have been a good idea to hold it up, because these things are just placed there, and maybe somebody picked it up and looked at it and put it back again or whatever. but it's just a simple way, catching the eye, giving information out. Or what's foundation piecing anyway? Oh, it must be like that. Oh, I wonder if we're going to do that. Oh, that looks interesting. You know, it invites curiosity. So something to consider. If you've got something to publicize, then maybe it's worthwhile having a few cake boards that can be like spots on the table that can highlight something and make something look quite important, and focus on one or two things that you would like the members to know about. Right, now then, another tabletop might be used for the raffle prizes. I think all WIs have raffles, don't they? And yeah, buying a raffle ticket, I think many members like to buy their raffle ticket. And this month, Sue couldn't believe how many raffle tickets she sold. And then she overheard somebody saying, oh, they'd always wanted to see the cherry blossom in Japan. And so she was going to buy double tickets this month. Sue had just been talking to Jane about the holiday she's just booked. It's not a raffle prize. Well, you'd guessed that anyway, hadn't you? I mean, you know, as if. I know I always joke that I'm waiting for the Fortnight in the Caribbean to be the raffle prize, you know, but I am joking. I am perfectly happy with a voucher to the local greengrocers or something, you know. But what's important is to make sure that it's clear what is a raffle prize and what is the contents of Sue's handbag or whatever she happens to have left lying around just near the raffle prizes. How can you do that? Well, you can separate them. You can put the raffle prizes on a pedestal, say. Well, I mean, they could go on one of those cake boards, except these are a bit big to go on a cake board. You could put them on a box and lift them up a bit. Or probably my favoured way is to put them on a tray. I'm a huge fan of trays. In fact, I'm a bit of a tray fanatic. And so the raffle prizes are on a tray. And it's quite clear these are the raffle prizes. The travel brochure with the trip to see the cherry blossom and Mount Fuji is very much not a raffle prize. You'll also see that I've arranged the raffle prizes a little bit. I mean, they're not really very well themed, and the colours aren't particularly good. So, you know, they're not sort of coordinated in any way. But I've made them into a kind of triangle, and I've grouped them, and that's the first step in arranging things, in staging. And if somebody talks to you about staging in the WI, this is what we usually mean. We don't mean putting things on the stage and drama and dramatic art and so on. But in WI terms, staging is one of those skills that we aim to encourage. And I bet there's somebody in your WI who can stage things pretty well. There's some people just have that knack. But there are principles, and it's one of those things that we do classes for. And guess what? There's a course coming up soon for you to do to learn how to do staging and interpretation. Guess who teaches it? Well, yeah, okay. One of the things that we do is, and pardon the small advert here, but one of the things that we do is learn to arrange things in pleasing arrangements. And that usually involves a triangle. It usually involves putting the heaviest things in the middle and low, and putting lighter area things up high. Flower arrangers have all of this there as well. And it's just basically putting things together in a pleasing way, grouping them. So if you can arrange things in a triangle, it's going to be pleasing. And your raffle prizes are a great place to start. If you watch as people do it, you'll identify that person who can stage things, and you can be a bit of a talent spotter. And once you've identified her, that's great, because the next group meeting you have where there's going to be a staging competition, or the next time somebody says to you, oh, we've got the post office window for a week next week or next month, you know the person to go for, to ask, oh, might you think about putting us an arrangement together for the post office window in a couple of weeks' time? Thing is that once you start arranging things, it's difficult to stop. And so you find yourself playing about with whatever happens to be on hand, you know, even if it's just the contents of your craft table. But there is a serious side. So my WI was offered a table at the parish council afternoon, Sunday afternoon, in the village hall. Will you come and put as a display for your organisation? And of course, you know, I think there was I don't know, was there the guides, the youth club, you know, whatever. And of course, a lot of these organisations have those pull-up banners and things, which are great, but they're very corporate. And the WI is anything but corporate. So we just put together a display on a tabletop. This is a few years ago now. And, you know, it's the same kind of thing, but not quite as, do you remember the ones that the Gloucestershire members anyway, do you remember the arrangements we did in the cathedral where we put a chair there and we put things around a chair to tell a story of our WI? That kind of thing. And this is the kind of thing that maybe the member who can arrange the raffle prizes very well can probably do this kind of thing very well too. We talk a lot about transferable skills when in education. And of course, if you can arrange the raffle prizes on a tray, you might also use those skills at home to do a little arrangement on your kitchen table. Or looking at it the other way, if you're the sort of person who puts things together on a tray on your kitchen table, you might be the sort of person who could be the marketing person for your WI. You know, it's good to spot talent. And of course, these things, again, it's a tray. It's putting things together in a tray in a pleasing fashion. This is just stuff that, you know, a cruet and the coasters and the pepper and so on. Depending on the season, you might put different things there. It just depends. And yeah, this is what happens. Trays are very useful for protecting the surface as well, you know, so there are big trays and little trays. And I told you I was a bit of a tray fanatic. This one is usually there because Flower Vase once made a huge ring on our wooden windowsill. So the tray serves two purposes. It prevents it happening again, but more to the point, it covers up the time that it happened the first time. So if you've got one or two little trays, yep, that's good. In the meeting, of course, you know, maybe you've got a tray, but maybe you've got something a bit more rustic, an orange box, or all sorts of little basket, all sorts of things. Grouping things. I like groups of things. One of the principles of staging is to link things together. And if you can put things together in odd numbers, they work quite well, better than spacing them out. And my little story here involves the mantelpiece in what used to be the members' room of WI House in Gloucester. And when I was more involved in Federation affairs, I had a thing about that mantelpiece, and it's a long time since I've been, well, it's not there anymore really, but at the time there was a paperweight, there was a vase with some dried flowers in, and there was a cup or a trophy of some kind. So there were three things on the mantelpiece, and every time I went into the room, I would arrange those things about 2/3 of the way along, and I would put the flowers, I would put the trophy, and I would put the little paperweight, and there it would be. And that's more comfortable. And then I would go out, and when I came back, there was the trophy, the flowers, and the, separated again. And I think I did that for 3 years. And as I left, the three things were separate again, and I thought, okay, time to move on. But things are, generally speaking, more attractive grouped together. And even paint cans. Of course, what we're talking about is what used to be called window dressing is now called visual merchandising. And if you have a sales table or it's the raffle prizes, but if you're running a fundraiser in any way at a cakes, a cake table or anything, if you can arrange things attractively and in a way that attracts the eye and so on, you're going a long way and you'll do very well. How somebody could arrange paint cans quite so much as to catch the eye. Maybe they just catch the eye because, good grief, they're paint cans, but who knows? But if those can be attractive, well, sort of attractive. Here's a different way of doing the raffle prizes. Sorry, I wandered off a bit then, didn't I? We're back to raffle prizes again. This WI had obviously put together little bundles of things, which works quite well. And their clear way of signalling, these are raffle prizes. You see that? It's clever. Simple ideas. Now, one other feature of the meeting, which I think we've possibly left behind a little bit, and maybe this is one of those old-fashioned traditions of the WI that we might consider bringing back. And that's what used to be referred to as the social half hour. The social half hour was, in the old days, was the time when the meeting, there was an organised activity. If a woman had taken the trouble to go out, if she'd got a babysitter, or she'd said to her husband, "This is my night out. It's the WI tonight, and I'm going out," and he'd given her his permission that she could go out. She wanted to make the most of it. She didn't want to be in and out, too quickly. She was going to stay and get the most out of her evening. And I think that's the reason why I think possibly we're coming to the time when maybe we want to make the most of our meeting again. I think whilst we've not been meeting face to face, I think that has made us realise how much we value being in the company of our friends, just having a relaxed evening out amongst like-minded people. And so the activities that used to be suggested were to boost the fun and friendship aspect of the WI. There were quizzes, there were games, there was singing, there might have been a bit of drama. There was, generally speaking, quite a lot of silliness. Now, I don't think that we're quite in the market for a potato peeling competition anymore, or who can hang the washing on the line the quickest. been given a, stringing a washing line across the village hall and given a load of pegs and said, here you are, how many tea towels can you peg out in 5 minutes? I think we've moved on from that sort of thing. But I think that we always like to taste things. We always like to try something new. So if, maybe tastings of the elderflower cordial here, this is a seasonal one from last year, but maybe a recipe of biscuits from a biscuit book, or a slice of cake, or a taste of a particular recipe of cake. Maybe brands of chocolate. Can you tell the difference between the variety that you bought in Aldi and the super duper Lindt, however many percentage cocoa? What's the difference? Maybe fair trade fortnight. What about tasting fair trade coffee and comparing it with the ordinary, regular, whatever? Just something interesting, something to talk about, something to enjoy, something to learn about, maybe a little activity, just an extra little bonus, something that it was worth missing Line of Duty to come out tonight, and yeah, if there's a recipe to be shared, and many members have their own little speciality that they make, and people would enjoy trying and having the recipe, then that's a great opportunity to do that. And there's just one last thing to ponder. Of all the things in the room, I think the one thing that possibly you look at the longest would be the president's table, if you have one. These days, not all WIs have a president's table. And this might be something that you might think on. And I'm sorry, I don't have a photograph for this one. If your WI is one where the president and the secretary sit behind a table at the front, maybe notice what that table looks like, this thing. This is your homework. Sorry, this is your challenge. The next meeting you have a look at the president's table and see whether, if there was a new member, what she would make of your WI by sitting and just making a, just seeing what it looks like. Are there margarine pots with bits of money in? Are there sort of carrier bags just plonked on the top? Is there a couple of lever arch files looking very business-like and so on? Is there one of those, it's a gavel and I don't know what the other bit's called, but when you call for silence, or a bell. Ooh, what does that say about your WI? Does it tell a story that you would like to tell? Does the president actually ring the bell and call you to order? Or is there a general acceptance that, oh yeah, the president's there, she's ready to start, we'll all hush and we'll have a listen. Have a little think about it. Because actually, what's possibly more important image to take home is the same thing as when we started. It's the smile, the enthusiasm. This is the human fruit machine, which is a great fundraiser, and a WI advisor, Kathy, will tell you all about that, how to do that. But the human fruit machine is the biggest giggle maker, giggle producer around. And it's the fun, the smiles, and it's the camaraderie. And of course, that takes no preparation whatsoever. That comes from the heart. It's what we've all missed, and will be there in spades. Wherever you meet, whatever you do, I think that WI members are guaranteed to have a bit of a laugh together, to enjoy each other's company and to have fun. And as it says on that poster down there, have fun, make friends, learn new things. That's what we're here for, isn't it? Kathy, if we've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I've lost my chat box now, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can invite questions.
We've had no questions in the chat box, so what I suggest...
Word in edgeways.
What I suggest is that if anybody has got a question, if they want to put it in the chat box, then please do, and I will call it out. But if you're a bit unsure about doing that, just unmute yourself and shout out, so long as nobody else is talking at that moment.
Excuse me.
I would like to have some better ideas about sharing information. That's one thing that I think would be useful to share.
The chat box is disabled.
Oh, so it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how to change that.
Oh, chat disabled. How do we do that?
I don't know. Ah, it's here now. Was it because I was sharing my screen, I wonder?
No, it was set in a I think it was set, I don't know, but I just pressed everyone can chat and it worked.
Good.
Don't be afraid of technology. You can't break it.
True.
Maggie, it's Kathy, it's not disabled.
No, I know. I just clicked a button and it came back.
There's something in there.
Yeah.
From Jenny to everyone, we are not sure we will be able to meet in our hall for some time. So have you any suggestions for outside meetings, please? And
Hot water bottles.
Hot water bottles.
And somebody did ask about sharing information.
Yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? And signing up sheets for a group of 60 of you is also tricky. Unless I don't have the answer to that one, unless you can think of a way of everyone bringing, perhaps if you asked everybody to bring something that has their name on it or whatever, they can put their card in the box or something, you know, and then maybe so you know who's there. If that's the so that they can come prepared and just drop their name into a box as they come in. So they don't actually have to physically stop and sign up on the same sheet as everybody else. Yeah.
Right, so then the next one was any suggestions for outside meetings? I don't think necessarily for you, Jill, but maybe anybody's got any ideas?
I think the biggest challenge is staying warm, because
Yeah.
I think that wherever you, I mean, even on a warmish day, I think just sitting still is quite chilly.
Oh.
Yes, an activity. Lynn Johnson, thank you. That's a brilliant idea. A treasure hunt, an activity that keeps everybody busy is a great idea for an outdoor meeting. You're right. Excellent.
And then we have somebody who suggests that sharing information, they produce a monthly newsletter and their secretary, this is Cheshire Federation. The Cheshire Fed secretary shares Fed events by email. So we have our Federation newsletter and everything's in there.
Yeah.
But not everybody's on email. Just looking down the questions.
We use a monthly email. Yeah.
Garden meetings. How can we bridge the gap between those who are comfortable with IT and social media and have taken part in Zooms and those who haven't had any contact during lockdown?
I think it's tricky. About half of my WI meet almost every week on Zoom for a chat and a catch up. And actually our secretary just takes rough notes about, you know, we chatted about how the cricket club have lost their field, and so the WI has taken over all their china. That was last week's news, and so on. She just puts a few little bits like that, and she prints it out and just puts it through the letterbox of those members who haven't been there. So they still feel as if they've been part of the chat. They're in the loop, as it were, but they're not getting the actual gossip firsthand, you know?
Yeah. This is from Tanya in Uli, WI. Our members are all of an age, aren't we all? How are we going to make them feel comfortable returning to the village hall? I think that's a bigger question than just WI, but
it is. I think we need to do what we do anyway, and that is extend that warmth of being pleased to see everybody, and just seeing where Lynn says we ended up in the pub. Possibly if they're all of a certain age, then possibly an alternative venue might be an idea, but it might equally be very off-putting to them. So I think we've just got to play it by ear. It's a bit of an unknown quantity for us all, isn't it? If you've got some villages are fortunate to have an alternative place to meet, but others, you're just absolutely stuck with what you have. And
somebody called Viv Smith says what they do is they're buddying in people's houses now that we're allowed to restart again. So somebody that is Zoom literate will have somebody that is less able. I hope your keyboard's all right, Tanya. She had some terrible gobbledygook there.
Oh my.
And that's the only questions that we have so far. Does anybody want to shout out in person rather than typing? Oh, Pam from Alberton WI in Plymouth. Hello.
Hi.
Or ho. Any ideas of how to ensure we only have 30 members attending a meeting when we have more members than that? Because we're only allowed 30 outside at the moment, isn't it?
Can you have two meetings?
Our hall, our committee aren't that keen on doing that. Our hall is we have to use will only allow 30 people in it now due to the new regulations. We have trouble with our ladies. If we say, can you sign up for something, they don't, they just turn up.
Oh.
You turn them away at the door and say, I'm sorry, but you didn't sign up, you can't come in. When some of them get dropped off by their husbands and dumped at the door, and they say 2 hours, please, thank you very much, off you, in you go.
I think this is a WI advisor question here. I'm going to delegate this one.
Maggie, you're more senior than me. I'm the newbie.
But it was meetings a month, but then it's double the cost for us as well.
Yes, yeah.
And the hall isn't available any other night of the month.
Actually, Sheila said a hybrid meeting, so those who can meet in the hall can go there, but others have the option of going via Zoom.
Well, we've already sorted that one out because one of our members doesn't actually live in our county. So she's going to be meeting on Zoom, as is a couple of our housebound members. That's if the hall's going to have email with Wi-Fi set up by then. But if I do that and I offer a hybrid meeting, it'll be a case of when it's raining, then I'll sign on to that. And I'll be sitting in the hall on my own.
Oh
dear. But then out of all our 62 members, we've only had a maximum of 22 on Zoom at any one time. So they're not that keen on using it down here.
We've decided that it was best to do outside meetings until after August. So we're doing a croquet day and we're doing a lunch and walk around a garden.
Good idea, I think.
Yeah.
Because we just can't see that people are going to want to sit in the village hall, because
No.
we've got 70 members and you have to be really close to each other.
Yeah.
It's
You have to have the windows open as well, and our hall's on a main road.
Yeah,
And the deaf,
and none of them can
volume is an
hear.
issue.
Yeah, they're all, the deaf loop doesn't work brilliantly, and yeah, it's
going to take
no
Best
go.
time of year to meet outside, isn't it? I mean, it's the traditional time of the year when we would have garden meetings and walks and those sort of things as well. So, yeah.
Yes, the bluebell walks were brilliant. We did about 20 of those.
Yeah, we've got our walking group that's going quite well. So, and all the other groups are on Zoom. So,
well, we're doing a lot of coffee mornings now, because of course you can have. We've limited it to four to five, depending on the size of house, but those are working well.
Yes, I think we've just got to do what we can.
Yeah.
And getting together in any form, whether it's to go for a walk or in someone's garden or do a treasure hunt, is great, and it's more than we can do or we've been able to do already.
I have a post. Sorry, I was just watching the chat screen there. I have a possible sort of further on question suggestion. We're fine over the summer now, hopefully, you know, weather's nice and all that, meet outside, but if this all comes back at us again in the autumn and we have to go back on Zoom, one of the things I promised to my ladies in my WI who don't Zoom is I will teach them. I'll go round to their house, see what phone they've got, whatever, set them up on Zoom and teach them Zoom so that come the winter, if we are locked down again, they will be able to join us.
One of our local WIs did that. They did a buddying up scheme where anyone who was prepared to use Zoom had a go. And they took on someone in their group who wasn't using Zoom and taught them how to do it, and then they buddied up again. And they had 72 members of theirs on Zoom.
Wow,
it's amazing. And their meetings are really good.
Yeah, this was more when we were absolutely not allowed in each other's houses, but now that we are, we can use this time to future-proof ourselves, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
We still do have some members who don't have smartphones or any kind of IT at all. And I'm really concerned that we don't become, you know, over IT, and that we do lose some of our long members who are very often the founders of the groups and have been the ones who've stuck through it all. And there's quite a lot of challenge, I think, of how we handle this well and keep people on board.
We've got some of our members who aren't on email or anything else as well, but we do a monthly newsletter with quiz. We do a mini monthly challenge, news of all the groups that are online, events from county, that are online from county, and we make sure that all those ladies who aren't on email get a copy in the post. So they're in touch with what we're doing and what we're trying to do. And they seem to be quite happy with that.
I just think it's quite a challenging time.
Isn't it most important we actually try and get some new younger members?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the moment, if you're not careful, we're not going to be here in 20 years' time.
I think the key is to make the meetings count, you know, make sure it's worthwhile going out, and you know, there's a warm welcome for you. There's plenty of opportunities of other things to do, and that you're just not doing, as my friend said, oh, she didn't go to the WI because she said didn't want to sit in a village hall going and that was her vision of the WI, you know. And I think we've got to keep things lively and give opportunities, things to do, and make sure that we offer a vibrant atmosphere.
I think
Because otherwise we're ending up looking like we're only for old people. And I must say, the thing that's really come out of this for me is Denman. The fact that you can buy for a £5 a course in so many subjects is absolutely brilliant, because it's so interesting.
Because you've got
No one in RWI is really engaging with it. Yep. Despite being told that they can do this. You know, it's different if you've got to pay 200 quid or something.
I think your point about younger members, we are an evening group, so we do have a lot of younger members. Younger members are working, so they can't come during the day.
Yeah.
And
well, we're an evening group too, but our average age is probably 75.
You see,
hello.
During the summer,
I'm a member who's 35, so I probably got close to I would say I'm on the committee as well, and I definitely say, you know, that I would love to be a part of my WI's book club, but it's running during the week in the day. I work full time, so that's something that I can't access. And the other thing I think is we underutilize our social media, so that's something that I'm hoping that we can, you know, if I'm a younger person who wants to look at things to do in the community, that would be my first port of call, is looking at what's available on Facebook. So putting
I put things on Facebook.
We have a Facebook page now. Your meetings need to be events on Facebook, putting things around, you know, a post about what tomorrow's meeting is going to be about. That, you know, that's the sort of thing that would interest me in starting to want to go into something like that.
You see, the problem I had with lockdown and the fact that, you know, they used to come round to the garden and we did things in the garden, but it was daytime. So the younger members who were working couldn't contribute, they couldn't come, but there was nothing else we could do about that, really. So I was very conscious about our members who are working. But, you know, hopefully we're, fingers crossed, we're back to...
It is an important point about social media, because we're Southfield WI, and so we are, you know, we're not in any way a place WI. We're not the name of our village or the name of our town WI. So we set up a Facebook page in order that people can find us. And actually only about 5 of our members follow the page. The rest is people who keep an eye on what's going on. And we've had quite a number of inquiries, mostly people who are saying, well, I know you're there. I'm interested for when live meetings start again. So we have our fingers crossed that our younger membership is going to grow when we're back in the building in September, because of our social media presence. And it's really easy to share our posts with, you know, local notice boards, because the villages around the periphery of our town have local notice boards that we can share stuff off, and we get a lot of attention that way.
Well, I managed to start a Facebook group, but my committee wanted it to be a closed group just for us, so nobody else can see it, and they don't contribute. It's only me that puts things on, you know, and informing them, really. But there we go.
You have to work on having different things for different posts. So anything I think is worthy of public, you know, what we're going to do in the future, I put down as a public post. Anything that's our members went on this walk and here's a picture of, I don't know, Maria falling down a hole and having a lovely time, that's private.
That's the thing to do, is to have two separate, you know, have a closed group and an open page to advertise, and a closed group amongst those that are members.
But if you can't put pictures of what you've been doing on there, then, you know, there is, I mean, ours is a very active WI. So we've got a book group and a walking group and ladies who lunch and cinema trips and stuff like that. And those photographs of us doing stuff is part of what markets us as an active, busy WI. So you haven't got people thinking that we sit in a hall and grumble once a month.
And it is possible to take pictures of people that are not embarrassing or not even identifiable. You know, you can.
Well, I'll just ask them.
We have a not on social media list. So,
and we did
our
things like
view is
pictures of the cake we raffled. We
Yeah.
raffled a Simnel cake or a picture of a view from a walk rather than the people.
But we also
on
say to people, if you don't want to be on Facebook, then don't stand in front of the camera.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Okay, here's one for the advisors. Describe the human fruit machine, please.
Oh, I was just writing an answer to that one. Three members of your WI each have a box in front of them. They have a selection of fruit in that box that the public can't see. On their side, they have a hole in the box that they can put their hand in. A member of the public comes up and gives over their dosh, and the three ladies sort of whiz and whir, shove their hands in, and if three ladies all come out with a banana, they win a prize. But if you get an apple, an orange and a banana, no prize, just like a regular fruit machine. But you have all the fun with the women sort of, ooh, what's this I feel in my hand, and all that sort of palaver.
And you can have a bell for them, for the person who pays the 10p or whatever, and they ding the bell and then they go.
Yeah, yeah. And you could do it not just with fruit, you could do it with cakes. Oh, I don't know. You could be quite inventive, but fruit is the most obvious one because they are fruit machines. But they are good money spinners for fundraising. Liz.
Thank you for that.
Maybe we should have one this weekend.
Oh, whoa.
Can't see Siren Sister being overly pleased about that, can you?
No, no.
Right, are there any more questions? I think we've probably covered pretty much most of what's cropped up through the chat. I think the idea of having name badges is a good idea.
Well, we have them that have WI.
Yeah, we have them at my WI.
We've just started, so.
Did Lisa have something to say? Lisa?
Sheila?
Hi. Just very quickly, are there courses on social media literacy that we can access?
There is a Facebook training module on my WI. So that's open to you under your own credentials there. It's more about setting it up, but there is also on my WI, there is also the PR guide from National about what you're allowed to do and not do with logos and all sorts of stuff.
Lisa, where are you?
Mitchell Dean.
Oh, you're a bit of away from me then. I can give you some help if you like, because I set up our page. I'll drop you my email address in the chat.
We have a page, but it's just having, I mean, I know how to use Facebook as a personal point of view, but it's more around making it engaging that I'm thinking of, really.
I think the big thing there is to make your site sticky, get people keep coming back to it and moving around in it and wandering everywhere, to make yourself sticky.
There's a lot of NFWI and GFWI stuff you can share as well.
Yeah, you can absolutely share from the GFWI page to your own page.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really like the Manchester WI page. I think that's one that I follow myself, and there's a lot of really engaging content on there.
You've got that WI Wanderers as well.
Yeah,
I think I have. Is it okay to share from that page?
Yeah.
No, they won't let you. They don't let you share stuff. It's not shareable because it's a closed group.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's worth being on.
Okay, brilliant. That's given me some ideas. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's probably exhausted most of the questions. Good exchange of ideas and everything. So we're going to go back, and the WI is suddenly going to blossom instead of, in some instances, dare I say, being a nice cozy little club that we're not very willing to open the doors to. But thank you, Gill, for your time, your ideas, your expertise. And I believe you're doing another one next week if there's anybody in WIs who haven't been able to get on.
Next week.
That's going to be on Wanderers.
Yeah.
So if any of your friends in your WI haven't been able to get here tonight, let them know it's on again next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, on Wanderers.
I'm happy to, you know, to answer questions and so on through the, you know, either through the Gloucestershire page, Facebook page, or through the, you know, the Federation would forward them to me. And if you're interested in the staging and interpretation, the new course which is coming along, there's going to be a taster. If you're going to the annual meeting, there's virtual side shows, not slideshows, side shows. So there's little stalls with activities, and there's a little staging taster one about flat lays that you can have a go at for free. And if you enjoy doing it, then we'll you can register your interest for more staging and interpretation fun.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Lovely to see you all. Best of luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.